This is part 10 of my series on my N-gauge model railway project. Earlier parts provided an intro to the project and my background with the railways and covered initial setup of the baseboard, selection and laying of track, various scenic items from Metcalfe, Kestrel, Ratio and P&D Marsh kits, and built from foam, etc., a review of my period LMS and LNER rolling stock, and installing and weathering a Kato motorized turntable. The previous part dealt with adding some more sidings to the layout. This part deals with some adjustments to the track, involving customization of Kato Unitrack sections. This was how things looked at the end of the previous video, with the new sidings initially in place. I was unhappy with how short the outermost siding was. I could have made it a little bit longer with a curve, but I didn't have any more Kato curves on hand. Then it occurred to me that I did have some more curves as part of the little loop of backman track that I picked up more or less by accident at the start of the project. I also had a couple of Kato pieces designed to connect Kato Unitrack to other brands of track. I picked these up in an earlier order since I thought they might come in useful in the initial laying out of track. They were currently sitting in my triple engine shed, connected to short backman straights to make up straights of the correct length inside the shed. So I figured if I stole those adapter tracks out of the shed, I could use them to put a backman curve into the outer siding. Which I did. Here you can see the outer siding after this change. The backman track was the older type that did not come with built-in track bed, unlike the newer backman easy track in Kato Unitrack. So to raise it to the level of the Unitrack, I just cut a piece of dollar store foam and put it underneath the curve, at least for now. So the backman curve can be seen here with a black bed, and the Kato adapter tracks are the short straights on either side of that curve. The backman curves I had were single, quite tight radius 90-degree curves. This actually worked quite well for extending this siding. Here's another view of the extended siding. Not exactly elegant, but it's about as much length as could be possibly fitted and does allow room for a little more stock in the siding. But now I had no straights for the inside of my triple engine shed. However, I had quite a number of full-length Kato Unitrack straights left over, as they had come with the sets I bought and I just didn't have room on the layout to use them. So I adapted 2 full-length Unitrack straights to make custom-length straights for use inside the shed, using the method I had seen in Mike Pfeiffer's videos. Here you can see the first custom-length straight in place. Let's look at the customization process. For my version of this customization, I just used a razor saw, side cutters, and the ubiquitous Kato Uni-connector removal tool, and a small screwdriver. First, I used the Kato tool to remove the Uni-connector from one end of a full-length Unitrack straight. I had measured how much length I needed to remove from a full-length straight to get the customized length I needed. Now I marked off the amount of length requiring removal in the middle of the Unitrack straight. Didn't matter exactly where, so long as it was the correct amount of length. And the ends needed to be between sleepers, so it wasn't possible to get exactly the length intended. Once the length was marked on the track bed, I cut through the plastic track bed from the bottom using a razor saw. I used a T-square to ensure that I started the cut square across the track. Here you can see the straight with the 2 cuts going right through the plastic bed but leaving the metal track alone. Now we want to remove that piece of track bed in the middle. I used a small flathead screwdriver to gently pry the rails loose from the center section of track bed. Gently prying along the length to be removed on each side. All the way along on both sides until the centerpiece of track bed comes away. Now, one end of the remaining track bed can be slid down to join up with the other end. You'll find that with each piece of Unitrack, one end of the track bed is fixed to the rails and the other end is loose. I assume they do this so minor expansion of the metal tracks won't cause problems. So find which end is loose and slide it down. Once the track bed is rejoined, the extra lengths of metal track can be snipped off flush with the end of the bed using side cutters. Putting the blades on top and bottom of the metal track and then cutting sharply works best, I found. Be careful, the cut-off track pieces tend to ping away quite violently. Now we just put a uni connector back on our new end after removing any burrs with a file, and we have our custom length straight. And thanks again to Mike Pfeiffer, from whom I picked up the suggestion for this technique. Here the two custom straights are in place where the shed goes. The third track in the shed didn't require a custom straight, as I had used a Kato bumper track and another short straight piece I had for that. And here's the final result after this exercise. The triple shed is back in use, and the outer siding now fits the train that could barely squeeze in before, with room for an extra carriage. I'm not exactly sure what future videos might feature. There's still a lot of scenic work to be done, even by my standards, and there's some more period rolling stock on the way. And I guess it would be nice to try to show you some actual video of running of the layout.